this video tutorial, we're going to teach you how to use some of the potential planting tools on the potential planting story map. We have 4 different applications here that allows a user to search for publicly or privately owned categorized potential planting areas by either neighborhood, neighborhood planning unit or NPU, watershed, or city council district. The tools in each one of these are exactly the same, so I'm just going to choose one of them to do the demonstration. We'll choose the neighborhood planning unit search tool. So when you click on one of your applications, it brings up something like this. Whether it be NPUs, neighborhoods, council districts, or watersheds. It gives you some instructions on how to use the tool. And the maps have some widgets or tools that allow you to do some customization of the map, and your actual search tools are over here on the left hand side. So just the first thing you would do is read the top where it tells you to find potential planting areas by NPU by clicking on the predefined search tools found under the task, which is right here, header. After you run the task, you'll click on a result, and it'll zoom to one of your resultant areas. And then again, you have some other tools like changing base maps, turning a layer on and off, printing a map, filtering your NPUs, sharing your map, and zooming in and out. So let's start with one of these tasks. You can see right now they're broken down into 4 categories of the potential planting index scores, ranging from very high potential to minimal potential. And you can see the scores here. It's greater than 66% and 33 to 66% and so on. The description of those tools is in the story map from where you linked to this. But you have 2 different sets here. You either find the first 4 are private land and the second 4 are public land. So we'll choose, the first one we'll do is we'll look for private lands with a moderate potential planting score by NPU. So we click on the task, and it brings up this dialog right here where you're asking a question. Essentially, you're choosing your NPU that scores moderate on the potential planting score. So let's choose NPU D, and once we've made our selection, we simply click on apply, and the results show up on the map in green. You can see the grid cells are each one of the individual results, and the list of the results are here under the results section. So we have 66 grid cells that scored moderate for NPU D. And if you click on one of them, it will take you to that exact grid cell. Alternatively, you could click on one of them like that, just a left click on your mouse, and it brings up information about that grid cell. Now, if you want to look a little bit further and actually see what's in the area that's been selected, you can do it 2 ways. You can click on your result. So we'll click on this first result here. It zooms into the area and actually brings up a pop-up. But right now you can't see anything behind it because the base map we use is simply just a backdrop. So the first thing we would do is change the base map. So we go up to the first widget here, and you hover over all these widgets and it tells you what they do. And this one's the base map gallery, and we have options to change our gallery to a different base map. So we'll change it to imagery right now, and as we change it to imagery, it shows you what's behind that grid cell. And if you just use your zoom out button, you can zoom out a little bit and see what was there. And so in this case, this is private land. It looks like it's on a landfill, privately owned landfill, and you can see that in that grid cell, again, if we click that grid cell that was selected, it gives you the percentage of canopy and the percentage of non-tree vegetation. And you can see there's some open space on this grid cell, obviously, that could be potentially used as planting. It's not to say that it's an ideal candidate, but it allows you to quickly go through and look at these areas. So you can zoom out, and you could do the same thing for other areas, and just kind of quickly scan over your base map and your results. So if we want to go back and do another query, we need to go back and click on the task button, And as we click on this, we could redo a query for another NPU with the same category, or if we wanted to choose an entirely new category, we go back one more, the back arrow, and now we can choose another category. So here, I'm going to change the base map before I do this, because it's a little bit hard to see the green squares on top of a base map when you do a query. So I'm going to change it to a different base map. I'm going to change it to streets, and I'm going to click this house button to take me to my full extent of my map. And we can see it there. It's kind of hard to see the NPU boundaries here, but you can read the letters. I'm going to do the same NPU, but I'm going to do it on public land that scored moderate. So if I click on the Find Public Land Scoring Moderate on the PPI, let's choose the same NPU, click on D and apply, and it takes us back to our NPU, and here we can see it a little bit better. Where we're at gives you a good location. If you are familiar with Atlanta in the area, you can quickly tell where you're at. And again, we have 7 results here. And so these results right here, if we turn on the imagery base map, we can see that this is the City of Atlanta Water Works, and then this up here is a wastewater treatment plant owned by the city. So you can zoom in again, click on your area, zoom in and see what the grid cell looks like. It's right next to one of the water ponds here off of Howell Mill. And you can see that there's adequate space there for planting. Again, not to necessarily say that it's the perfect place for planting, but again, the whole idea of this tool is to quickly scan through places in the city that have more non-tree vegetation than actual treed areas. So with that, we can look at a couple other tools. Imagine that you were satisfied with your query result and you wanted to print a map. You could click on this third widget, Print, and it allows you to go through and set up a map as a PDF. And you have different options here where you can make it landscape, portrait, etc., different sizes. Let's just leave it here. We'll put it in a landscape, landscape. There's some advanced functions here that you can go through on your own, but you can change the title and change the author of the map. You can show a legend on your map. You can put the print resolution a little bit higher and so on, but I'll just leave all this default right now just to show you how to do it. Once you click print, it creates a PDF file in your browser memory. And so it'll take a second, and then once you click that, it brings up your PDF file. And then if you wanted to make this permanent somewhere, you would download this and send it off to the city council member that you might be lobbying to plant trees in your area. So that is the print map. And then we have one other tool here. I'm going to change my base map again back to the original one, dark gray canvas, and zoom out to my full extent here, my default extent. And here I'm just going to use this filter tool to show you this. If you are just interested in filtering an NPU and seeing only that NPU on your map, you could do this. If you click D, your NPU, and then you turn on the NPU filter, it only shows that NPU on the map. So it's just a little cosmetic tool right there. And finally, the last tool we'll demonstrate is this share map. And it's simply click on the share tool and it creates a link to your map. And you could do an email the link, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. So you have multiple options there to share your map with someone else. But really the main tools in this are your search tools. So the big thing to remember is after you've run your search, if you want to do a new one, you click on task and you go back to the original to change your original query. Finally, the last button we'll look at is this layer list. And when you run a query, it saves the results in your layers so that you go back and you can turn them on and off down the road. It doesn't automatically delete them. However, when you rerun it, it will overwrite this. So if we reran the moderate public land query for a different NPU, for example, B, this would now be, the result would be B. So you're allowed to rename them as you're doing it. But But I think that's it. Everything else should be straightforward. I hope this helped.